Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is actually one that I was not planning on filming today, but Colourpop released a new palette this morning and I just had to do a shop my stuff for dupe video because, well, I'll get into that in a minute. So the new palette was actually called the It's My Luck palette, I believe. It's an all green palette, it's a 9-pan palette, and I think it's stunning, you guys. We've been asking for Colourpop to come out with an all green palette for so long, and it's finally here, and it's so beautiful. But do I actually need this palette? Since I've been wanting a green palette from Colourpop for so long, or just a monochromatic green palette, I don't want to dive into this purchase without really thinking it through, shopping my stash, making sure that I don't already have these shades strewn throughout my collection, and I want to see if it's going to be a good purchase for me. I strongly encourage all of you to do this as well. But if you want to buy that palette, don't let me stand in your way. I'm not here trying to tell you that you shouldn't buy the palette or that it would be cheaper to buy all these palettes instead of that one palette, but I'm simply going through what I own to see if I have something similar. So, like always, this video is inspired by Kelly Gooch. She does a series like this over on her channel, and it's absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend that you guys go check her out, and I will link all my other kind of shop my stash videos down below. I recently did one on the ABH Riviera palette, so make sure to check that one out. Without further ado, let's get into the Colourpop palette. Alright guys, so to save myself a little time, because honestly I don't have that much time to film this video today, unfortunately, I'm just doing it by row, so 3 shades at a time. So I'm going to pop in a picture of the palette over here along with some swatches, and the first shade in the palette is called Chances Are ... It is this beautiful minty green, and to dupe that I dipped into my Blush Tribe Blossom palette, and I dipped into the shade Flax right here. I feel like the one in the palette is maybe a little bit lighter, a little bit more pastel, but this one is semi-close. So there's that swatch right there at the very top. Like I said, the one in the palette is a bit more pastel, but there is a white in this palette, so I can always mix it in with the white to create a little bit of a brighter look. The next one is called Kiss My Haas, like Haas avocados. That is so freaking adorable. And for this one, I dipped into my Blush Tribe palette once again, but I feel like this shade is quite off. It's just kind of a grassy green rather than the more cool tone green that I feel like is in this palette. So I dipped into my Blush Tribe palette once again, and I dipped into that shade Clover right there. And you guys can even tell in a swatch, it's quite a bit more grassy green, but I feel like I could combine these two and create something a little bit similar. The tone is a little bit off, but on the eyes, I'm really going to be able to tell. The next shade is called 4050, and I had kind of some trouble duping this one, you guys. I don't think I did the greatest job. This is honestly a video just as much for me as it is for you guys to kind of look and see what I have, see if it's similar, see if this palette would really even be worth me buying. So I'm just kind of doing this with you guys on camera because I think it's a really healthy exercise to do with your makeup stash. So anyways, back to duping 50/50. I dipped into the Emily Edit, and I started with the shade Sideline right here, which is kind of like an olive green. It's a little bit more of a muted green, and I was like, well, that's not quite punchy enough. So then I dipped into my Juvia's Place Mini Masquerade palette, and I dipped into the shade Molly right here, which is this beautiful super bright green, and I tried to mix those two together. I feel like the result was semi-similar. The other one might be a little bit more punchy, but honestly, these are dry swatches, and if I was using this on the eyes, I would definitely use it wet or over a glitter primer, so that would make it even more intense. The next shade in the palette is called Big Banks, and it is a much lighter shimmery green. So to dupe that one, I dipped back into the Juvia's Place palette, and I dipped into the shade Molly again. I feel like tonally, this is maybe just a little bit off. I feel like the one in the palette, here's Molly right here, I feel like the one in the Colourpop palette is a little bit more blue toned, kind of. There's that shade right up there. As always, I will do a close-up at the end. I know you guys can't see swatches quite so well from back here, but it's just easier while I'm talking about it. But I feel like the one in the palette is just a little bit more blue toned. But again, is that tone really going to make enough difference on my eyes? I'm not sure, but I think this one is pretty close. The next shade in the palette is called Mary Jane, and it looks like the most beautiful kind of yellow shade. The only one that I have that is similar to that in my collection is a single from Looksy Beauty, and it's called Lick It, Slam It, Suck It. It's quite the name. And it is the most beautiful yellow duochrome. It has a gorgeous green shift to it, and I love this shade so much. I don't even care if this one isn't an exact dupe. I think it would be so beautiful with this palette, but I think in the swatch it does look pretty close to the other one. The next shade in the palette is called Olive You. That's so cute. And to dupe that one, I used a Colourpop single, and I used mine in Tea Garden. Mine looks a little funky. It's because I dropped it and it shattered and then I pressed it back in, but it's all good now, I think. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous duochrome. It has that very strong olive shift, but it also kind of shifts back to warm brown. It's absolutely stunning. I'm not sure if the one in the palette is a duochrome, but I feel like that olive shift is definitely spot on with the color in the palette. Alright guys, we are on the final row, and the first shade in that row is called Act Natural, and it's this beautiful kind of rich jungle green shade. And to dupe that, I dipped into my Emily Edit from Makeup Revolution, and I dipped into the shade Corduroy right here. This is one of my favorite shades in that palette. It does come off a bit lighter in a swatch than it does in the pan, and I feel like this is actually a pretty darn good dupe. I feel like the one in the Colourpop palette looks like it swatches a little bit richer, but I think this one is still beautiful. So the next shade in the palette is called Mobamba. Isn't that a song or something? I feel like that's a song. I'm going to dip into my Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette, and I'm going to dip into the shade Enchanted right here. This is this beautiful, super deep, dark, very rich, kind of hunter green shade, and that is swatched right here. The final shade in the palette is called Charmed, and it just looks like a beautiful, deep, dark, cool toned brown. For that, I'm going to dip into my Jaclyn Hill palette once more, and I'm going to dip into the shade Central Park right here. I feel like Central Park is a little bit more chocolatey than Charmed is in this palette, but a brown is a brown is a brown. I'm sure I have a nice, deep, dark, chocolatey brown in my collection somewhere. So here are the swatches that I came up with. Honestly, do I need this palette? Absolutely not. I probably have enough similar shades on my arm right here and in my collection that I don't need to buy this palette, but if it goes on sale, am I gonna buy it? Probably, but I probably won't buy it on launch day. So yeah, I'm just being honest with you guys. Right here, I'm gonna insert some close-up swatches so you guys can get a really good look at all these shades together. So that's about it, guys. That's kind of the wrap up of this video. Here are the dupes that I found. How do you think I did? Do you think I did okay? Do you think I did terrible? I think I did okay. I feel like a lot of these tones are similar to ones in that palette, but there are definitely some shades that were kind of a big miss, especially like this shade. It's a bright grassy green instead of the more cool tone green. And I feel like this one was really different, but like I said, I could have mixed in some white to lighten that one up. The shade also is a little lackluster, but I don't know. What do you guys think of this palette as a whole? Do you love the color scheme? I love that Colourpop is coming out with more monochromatic palettes. I think it's exactly what we've been asking for as customers, and I'm really excited to see that they're listening to what we have to say. So that's going to wrap it up for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Sydney. I post beauty videos 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And that's going to wrap this one up. So I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!